All right, here we are for another Friday Night Fireside. And, this is Dave's World. I am Dave, or DM Dave, as I'm known around these parts. Now, last week we started with jacking into the Matrix. We started our conversation about the Matrix, and unfortunately, that live came to a rather unceremonious ending because I went off for a bio break and never returned, and unfortunately left my friend Naga just hanging in the dust, and Cindy. Everybody was really worried about me. I have already shared, although the audio was garbage when I came and did a personal live the next day. What happened, and I was, while trying to chase a neighbor who was harassing me off of my property, police were called, and I was taken into custody for and beaten, and my rights were violated in several ways, and I'm looking for a civil rights attorney to address the matter. I don't want to go too deep into all of that, other than to say I'm sure some of my friends here might have some things to say about it. There may even be some questions, and I definitely want to give people the opportunity to share their thoughts on what happened as we come into our conversation tonight. But that being said, our main topic will still be continuing our deep dive into the Matrix. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my panelists, because I'm not doing this alone. And some of the folks here tonight who are plugged into the source and ready to glitch the system. First up, we've got Naga. Naga, tell them who you are and where they can find you.
Hey everybody, I'm Naga, otherwise known as Nagatsu Seiken. You can find me under that moniker on just about any platform, but good luck actually contacting me there. I very rarely check other platforms than Discord. So your best bet is to try and get in contact with me here, if you ever find the need to.
And if you are interested in joining the Dave's World Discord, I do have my Discord ID in the description. You guys are free to hit me up and become a part of Dave's World, and possibly even if you want to suggest some topics or be a part of the conversation. We are welcoming all. All right, so Naga, what was the one Matrix moment for you that just like really you still think about years later?
For me, it was the Ghost Twins in the second Matrix movie. Do not know what it is about them, but they just struck me as the fucking coolest characters in the movies.
I want to say, especially when we're talking about the deeper lore of the Matrix, there was a video game called Path of Neo that was on PlayStation. I want to say PS1 or PS2, like early PlayStation. And in Path of Neo, they go a lot deeper into the Merovingian and all of the exile programs and whatnot. And there's a lot of lore about the vampires and werewolves and ghosts and whatnot. And I have my own theories about the Merovingian. And I know that I have stuff in my script for our conversations about the Matrix that's going to kind of go into the Merovingian's role. But spoiler alert, I believe that he was the first architect of the first Matrix. That is, hold that into your head as the conversation continues. But it is my theory that the Merovingian was the first architect. Anyway, we're also joined by Cindy.
Mhm.
Cindy, tell us who you are and where they can find you.
All right. Well, my name is Cindy, and I'm. All right. Well, I'm on TikTok at Cindy Mom 84. I'm on an app called Flip. If you're on that one, it's very new. Under syndicated. Um, let's see what else about me. Oh, and I have an Instagram at Miss Cindy VIP School of Music, where I talk that one. I talk mostly about um, my music teaching because that's what I do. That's my day job, evening job, whatever. But yeah, that's me, and I've known Dame for forever.
I want to say also what's really really cool is since you did a Dubby ad for me with the coupon code Sputter, which I'm going to show later. The ad that she made for us is incredible, but you posted it on Flip Deck, right? Already, right?
Yes,
I'm not mistaken. You
yes,
did post it on Flip Deck. So here's the cool thing.
I did. Yes.
We have had over a dozen new referrals for the Sputter Dubby account since you posted on Flip Deck. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
there
was
you go.
just checking that.
Wow.
I was just checking that because I just checked Dubby before I was setting up this broadcast because I wanted to get the referral link into the description so that it was right there in the description on the live right when we went ahead. So I was grabbing the referral link, and right there on the page I saw all the new fucking referrals that just came in recently. I'm like, all right, this shit's working.
That's awesome because I also have to say that another place that I didn't post the ad, but I posted the link, is I'm on another app called Benable, and where I have different, like, basically like boards, kind of like Pinterest. You have different boards of things that I recommend, and you can click on it and buy it. And I put Dubby in there with your discount code and your link. So that is another place where someone could have done that. But so that's two places I posted information about it. So I'm really glad that it worked.
Yeah, no, the referrals are coming in. We have, it's doing its thing. People are supporting Dave's World and Sputter Media. And while we're at it, before we introduce Shipwreck, just because, it's a great segue. The different ways that you can support us right here are, of course, the classic like, subscribe, share, help us with the algorithm. And it looks like my camera froze a little bit, but at least you guys can still hear me. I'll reset my camera if I have to. But yeah, like and subscribe, help us with the algorithm. But also, you can support Dave's World Patreon. The Patreon link is in the description down below. And you can also support us by going through our sponsor, Dubby Energy, which Dubby Energy is the energy drink of the future. I even wrote a little Matrix-themed ad before we plug in. This episode is powered by Dubby Energy, the energy drink of the future. Jitter-free, sugar-free, made from coffee fruit extract instead of beans. It's clean, focused power, which, let's be honest, is more than we can say for most of Zion. Go to dubby.gg and use coupon code SPUTTER, that's SPUTTER, for 10% off your order, or check the link in the description below for the starter kit that I personally recommend. And let's just show off the awesome ad that Cindy made for us while I'm resetting my camera.
Come with me as I make my first thing of Dubby. I've got some sample packets here and my Dubby shaker cup, which I love. I'm going to try the fruit punch flavor with lemon lime. First, you're going to fill up your water. Don't worry, it's not the same flavor for long. I did about 14 ounces. And then you're going to do a scoop, or in my case, pour the packet in and get all that nice flavor in. Next, you're gonna shake it as much as you can. You want to shake your booty at the same time? I highly suggest it. Now you're gonna fill up your shaker cup with some ice, and then you're gonna pour that W right over the ice. Having it chilled is definitely ideal. Here it goes for my first sip. Let's check it out. You want to shake it up again, get it nice and chilled up. Make sure to use coupon code SPUTTER. And check out that link in the description. It's really good.
All right, and thank you, Cindy, for making that lovely ad. I know those of us in Discord didn't see the ad because I'm just rolling it through the live, but her lovely voice giving everybody a demonstration of how to use Dubby when you get your first order, or your next order, or every order from here on out. And I want to point out that we do not promote anything here on Sputter Media or in Dave's World that we don't actually use. And I love Dubby. As a matter of fact, what I'm sipping on right now is it's a mystery flavor. I can't guess it. And I got it as part of one of the content creator packs that I purchased. They didn't give it to me, but I do get a discount. But one of the content creator packs that I bought, and I got this really neat shaker. I got a tub of Blue Energy Tears, which is a blue raspberry flavor, one of my favorite, and then a tub of this mystery flavor, and I can't put my tongue on it. I am not sure what it tastes like, but if you go order your own using coupon code SPUTTER, go ahead and tell us in the comments what you think the mystery flavor tastes like, because I can't figure it out yet. All right, that's enough for our corporate overlord. Yes. That's enough from our corporate overlords, and I want to get back to our introductions. And Cindy, we segued a little because I just wanted to show off your wonderful editing work. But let's go ahead and I think I know I asked you last time who your which character you most identified with from the Matrix. So let's do a different one this time. And I remember you said Trinity, correct?
No. I said Neo.
Oh, you said Neo. Oh, that's
Neo.
right.
Neo.
You were subverting expectations. You said I remember you said something about you thought people would think Trinity, but it isn't. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, mainly you would think that a woman would want to identify with the woman in there.
It's
but
yeah, you subvert expectations.
But the reason why, yeah, and the reason why, and I is because it goes back to the first movie, which the one I most remember is the whole choosing the pill, and kind of when I watch that movie, it just kind of reminds me of like my deconstruction from like my faith. Mm-hmm. Growing up Mormon and stuff, and then leaving that, and so having that choice to stay in and just keep the blinders on, or leave and actually just know the truth and live the truth, So that's kind of why I identify more with Neo than anything else. Versus Trinity, who's like, I know you're the one because I love you, and
Right.
And she's also bad as bitch, but like, let's be honest.
I mean, she is. She is a bad bitch.
I don't resonate. Yeah.
I honestly, though, I want to say,
nothing against her.
When it comes to female protagonists in the Matrix series, I like Bugs way more than Trinity, to be perfectly honest. And of course, you have to have watched the Matrix 4, is it Rebirth? Matrix. God, I should know that off the top of my head. Resurrections, thank you. I said Rebirth, Resurrection.
Isn't it Matrix rebooted?
It's you have the Matrix,
Okay.
You have the Matrix Reloaded, you have the Matrix Revolutions, and now we have the Matrix Resurrected, right? And Bugs, I thought, was a way more interesting female protagonist than Trinity was, in my opinion.
I totally agree with that. Honestly, I totally agree with that.
So
100%.
So that's Cindy's little introduction, and we already got our corporate overlords out of the way. But let's go ahead and introduce Shipwreck John, who joined us slightly late, but welcome to the panel. And go ahead and tell them who you are and where they can find you.
I am. Let me see. I'm right here. Who I am? I'm Shipwreck. I'm a retired Navy lieutenant commander. Well, medically retired Navy lieutenant commander, and I have since been everything from a gunfight reenactor, a Civil War reenactor, 911 operator, dispatcher, and oh yeah, I worked in a bank for the next 15 years after that. So
Nice.
I did EBT settlements, so it was interesting and fun for about the first 3 years. Anyway, but like any job, it gets a little boring after that. But I stuck it out for 15 years, and after that, well, I retired at 60. And there's a whole long sob story about that, but and nobody's interested. So.
Hey man, I retired at 37, man. So,
well, I came down. I have multiple sclerosis and diabetes and peripheral vein disease and deep vein thrombosis and God knows what else. And it's all on the list in the VA. They know everything I have. Anyway. Every time the doctor says, and this is that, and I say, add it to the list.
Right? Oh my God.
Yeah. It's
you and me both,
okay,
brother.
But yeah, they're really good to me. They really are good to me. So anyway, that's my, Reader's Digest version of my story.
Sure.
I am an atheist. I recently started. Well, recently, within the last few years, couple of years. Before that, I was working a lot, just volunteering and doing stuff for the ACD. Then I kind of morphed into doing nonprofits and crew work for the ACA. So, and I kind of spend most of my time doing that. I've recently kind of gotten away from the ACD. Mainly because I was just a little too overwhelmed and there was too much crap going on in my life, and I needed to shrink my responsibilities a little bit, so I did.
Well,
so,
I'm not too ashamed to admit
there were also issues about it. So,
yeah, I'm not too ashamed to admit that I was unceremoniously removed from the ACD. I'm not going to go into that here. This is not about airing dirty laundry, but. I had some disagreements with the mod staff there, and let's just say, in my opinion, the mod staff loves to have rules apply to everybody but themselves. That is going to be my, without going into details, I believe that the mod staff does not hold themselves to the same standards that they hold anybody else there to. That's all I'll say about that. Getting back to the Matrix bit. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was, you just had my life story in pretty much 3 or 5 minutes. So
Sure. So getting back to the Matrix bit, then, John, what's what is your what character do you most connect to in the Matrix? Like in the whole series, is there a character that is really like you feel connected to personally?
Morpheus.
Why is that? Why Morpheus?
I think it's because of his the mystery around him.
Okay.
I think I kind of like the idea of having a little mystery. My character in the Boot Hill Gang was called Mysterious Dave, so it was like
always love me a
so
Dave.
It was like Yeah, so it was like that was kind of fun. Well, they always had their characters based on some sort of historical person. And my name being Roudabush, there was a Dave Roudabaugh who ran with Billy the Kid, and so they kind of like Roudabaugh or Roudabush. Is he a relative? I said no, but good try. I think that guy was Dutch and I'm German. Okay, there is a slight difference. But anyway, yeah. So that was kind of fun. I don't know all the details. My history could be completely off, but it's like
Sure.
There we go. And but Morpheus has that kind of feeling to him that there's an awful lot more to him than is ever let on anywhere.
Sure. And of course, he's named.
I don't remember them ever
for-
going through his story, that much.
Not so much, no.
Go
They don't really go through Morpheus's personal story very much. You're right. What I was going to say though is it's interesting. He's the god of dreams. Right? Sorry, Morpheus is the god of dreams in Greek mythology. So obviously, that's not an accident. Right. He's the captain of the Nebuchadnezzar, which has the name Nebuchadnezzar has biblical implications, and there's similar stories about being able to determine reality from dreams in the story with Nebuchadnezzar, if I recall correctly. And of course, absolutely the biblical references throughout, like Cindy was saying. So the goal today for the theme, last time we talked about free will versus destiny. For the most part, we talked about the oracle, the architect, and the analyst as representations of competing systems of control. Today, for our next segment into our dive into the Matrix, we're going to talk about the Matrix as a trans narrative. Our central focus will be gender identity, transformation, authorship, and reclaimed symbolism. All right. So before I go into the intro of this theme, I want to talk to the panelists here, and what are your thoughts on, just initial thoughts on the Matrix as a trans narrative? Is this something that you've heard before? Is this something that you've explored? What do you know about the Matrix as a trans narrative, or being looked at through a trans lens? And I know none of us here on the panel tonight are trans people. I will say that I am the parent of a trans child. I have been exploring a lot of what it means to be trans, both for the sake of my very loved child, and for the sake of being a parent who is not a moron, uneducated idiot, or ignorant of these things. So I've been studying. So no, I'm not trans, and currently, it would be wonderful if somebody who is in Dave's World, because we do have members of the trans community in Dave's World, if one of them joins us, that would be amazing to hear their perspective. But I do want to say that looking at this through this lens, not being trans, I want to remind everybody that we want to be respectful of people, because, we're talking about people without them present. So let's make sure we are very respectful as how we address the topic. I'm not worried about anybody on this panel, but I'm also reminding people in the comments that here at Dave's World, we do not tolerate transphobia. So if you've got an issue with this in the comments, keep those issues to yourselves. All right? If you want to have a real conversation, I'm down. If you want to spread hate, fuck off. Anyway, let's start with we'll go the same order we went for introductions for this one. Naga, go ahead, and what is your thoughts on viewing the Matrix through a trans lens? Just your general thoughts.
Well, this isn't the first time that I had heard that the Matrix could be viewed as a trans narrative, but it's relatively recent that I had heard that maybe a year and a half ago, somewhere around there. And having watched the series in its entirety since then, yeah, I can kind of see it, especially given that the original Matrix was created and directed and produced and so on by the Wachowski brothers, who are now the Wachowski sisters. Yeah, I mean, what better way than to express the psychology therein?
It is
I suppose
hard.
would be the best way to put it.
It is hard to argue against the idea that it is a trans narrative when the creators transitioned. Like that's
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to be like,
Right.
nuh-uh, to that one. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Let's hear from Cindy next.
Yeah,
Cindy. Oh, go ahead.
no,
Sorry,
so-
you had more thoughts.
Yeah, which kind of came as a surprise to me because from what I had gathered, they transitioned a while ago, but
No, actually,
it wasn't
relatively
until
recently.
very recently that I heard.
No, both of them transitioned relatively
I
recently.
mean, it was like, yeah, okay.
I mean,
So, but,
relatively.
yeah,
is a
I had
relative
only
term,
heard that
but-
yeah,
Sorry, I think
Yeah.
there was the delay, and we
But,
overlapped each other a little bit.
yeah, it's all right. But yeah, I mean, I can see it, and I haven't really dived deep into it, so I'm kind of curious to hear everybody else's thoughts as well.
Sure. Let's go around and hear what other people have to say before we get into the deeper dive. Cindy, what are your thoughts on just, the Matrix through a trans lens?
Yeah, so I very, very recently found that out, and Dave, you told me all about it. As far as like you told me about the creators and their transition, and you told me about like the whole trans narrative thing, and we've talked about it a little bit. And it's I did kind of like go back, and I probably should just watch all the movies again with that perspective.
I agree.
But yeah, I think it's awesome that they were able to create something like so intricate on something that they were both going through, and they are still going through. Like, it's like they put that into art, which I think is fantastic. And I think it's really cool, and that's one of the cool things about like movies and art in that way, like any type of, I don't know, like art or stories and stuff like that, is that you can see it with two different, like with more than one lens. Like I had that one lens about Neo, and but yeah, I think that, like you said, it's really hard to argue the fact that probably the real lens that the creators were going was that trans lens, and I think that's great, because I think any trans voice we can get is great. I want to hear all of them.
I want to piggyback off of that one because I wouldn't even say that the trans lens is the real lens. And the reason why I say that is because one of the things that I definitely, had to do a lot of as an English major and through all the lit courses that I had to take as an undergrad, I often read the same book or the same story multiple times. And I would read them in different courses, and I would read them through different lenses. And matter of fact, one of the courses that I took was a course about all the different literary theories that you could look at different at literature through. And so queer theory is one of them, right? Queer theory is one of the lenses that you can look at any story through. Now, of course, it's not going to give you a whole lot in that lens if it wasn't written for that lens, or at least written with themes that lens can touch upon. But the reality is, no piece of literature, and that would include The Matrix, is meant to be viewed through any one singular lens. And I encourage you, because you said, like, I want to watch The Matrix again, the whole series, and with this trans narrative in mind as I watch it, which is going to give you the opportunity to, pick out the things that are specifically in the story that are standing out about that that viewpoint. And one of the best examples that I have for just my education was so I read Huck Finn way too many times in my life. It was assigned to me in high school literature class. It was assigned to me many times in college. Once as a when I had to do a lit course that was U.S. literature from like the early 1500s, when it was still like, colonies and shit, the literature that was coming out during colonies and stuff, all the way to Civil War. And then so they would include Huck Finn at the end of that course. And then there was literature from the Civil War up until 1970, and so Huck Finn would be at the beginning of that literature course. And then there was I had to take a course called Adolescence in Literature, and so Huck Finn was in that course. And so I was looking at it through several different lenses in those three different courses. One was about what it meant towards the end of the Civil War and the Reconstruction era. Another, what it meant from the end of the Civil War leading on to like civil rights and shit. And then another that was looking at it through the lens of a little boy growing up and coming of age, right? So this one story of Huck Finn, looked at through all these different lenses, they will tell the reader different things. And I think that the same thing goes on with here in The Matrix, right? Where we're looking at it through different lenses and being able to examine and get different stuff out of the story through these different lenses.
Yeah, and I think what I meant by the real lens was mainly like that might have been the lens the creators were looking through when they wrote it.
I still think it was a
but
lens.
Like that is the thing about art, is that you can. Yeah, I'm sure they had multiple.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a collaborative effort, and they had, I mean, they were good at writing. They did a good job on The Matrix.
Sure.
So they obviously had that ability to do more than one lens, but I just like that. I like that about stuff.
All right, let's kick it over to John. John, what are your thoughts on The Matrix as a trans narrative?
Well, because I never really thought about it that way. But if you, and my memory, of course, is rather sketchy about everything. But, I could see it. I could see that lens being fruitful in some of the ways to perceive the movies, because the one I remember the most is probably the first movie, and arguably not necessarily the best, but I find that the way gender is treated is kind of almost gender neutral. If you noticed how everybody dressed kind of in this, it's not a gendered dressing, except for the people who were still in the Matrix. They had their roles. The people outside the Matrix, I didn't see a lot of, Trinity, for instance, didn't dress. There was no feminine dress. There was no masculine dress. It was all kind of gender neutral, which I never thought of until, it didn't. I didn't think about that until you mentioned the trans lens. I sat there and went, is there really a lot to grab up? No, there's not a lot, because they were all gender neutral. You couldn't tell. You could tell which actor was male or female, but you couldn't really tell by their actions, their words, or their dress, you know, weren't specifically a particular gender. So there was kind of a fluidity here that, that I kind of respect. That was a good way to. It's actually an interesting way to look at it. Now I'm going to have to go back and watch it.
Yeah. Well, we might be opening your mind. We might be opening
Yeah.
your mind to some new concepts tonight, John. And so I might be picking on you a little bit for some of these panelist questions. All right. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. Now let's talk about transformation, not just within the narrative, but behind it. The Matrix has long been read as a trans allegory, and in retrospect, that's not just a fan theory, it's backed by the authors themselves, like Naga mentioned. Both of the Wachowskis, who created this franchise, came out as trans women after the films were released. But, if you look back, the themes were always there. Identity, bodily autonomy, awaking to a false reality, and rewriting your place in a system that's trying to define you. The red pill? It's been widely recognized as a metaphor for transitioning, especially in trans and queer circles. Even the term itself was, at the time, street slang for estrogen hormone pills. Think about that. A pill that awakens you to your real self, but also alienates you from the world you thought you belonged to. And it gets deeper. Originally, the character of Switch was meant to be played by two different actors. One male presenting in the Matrix, one female presenting in the real world. A literal trans metaphor. The studio shut it down. So let me ask you, John, picking on you right here, how differently do you think the original trilogy would have hit audiences if Switch had been portrayed the way the Wachowskis intended?
Ooh. I think that the studio was wrong. I think that would have added a depth to that character that would have made them stand out. Maybe that was why they did it. Maybe they didn't want to focus on that. But just because you're LARPing in the Matrix, as one, and you are another, doesn't necessarily mean you're trans. It means that you're able to do both, and and you may feel more comfortable being one or the other in your real life, but you feel really good about what you're doing in the other life. So, I think it would have brought out a lot more depth to it, a lot more people thinking about what that character meant, because, that would just be deepening the character, wanting them to get more from that character at that point. To try and figure out how that works, so at least I would, I don't know, the incredibly stupid people would probably sit there and say, you can't be that, but, that's another thing entirely, so.
Well, to piggyback on that,
I think it would have really, really brightened it up.
To piggyback on that, let's also remember that your DSI, your digital self-image, is those who have been unlocked from the Matrix, who have had their minds awakened, are able to control their digital self-image. They look the way they want to, but only after they've been unlocked.
Is interesting. Yeah. So this unreal world they're living in is what they consider reality, and when they
it looks like my camera froze
go
up
out
again.
of
Let me
it
fix that.
and then go back in, when they go out of it and then go back into it as their real selves, as they want to be seen, that is so it's so indicative of kind of the process that I understand. My nephew is trans, and we talk a lot on Discord because he's an artist and he does drawings and things for
so does my son,
and sundry reasons. Yeah, so it's like really interesting, but also Um, uh, my best friend from the Navy's um, daughter is non-binary, um, and uh, uh, and they just graduated from college as well. So it is in my circle, and also I have many friends in the atheist community who either are trans or have trans relatives as well. So it's like it is a thing that I think, to me, it's so discouraging to see them trampled upon. So I kind of like, and to be so villainized for being essentially honest and good people. So it's like, it I resonate with the idea of being who you should be for obvious reasons. So to people who know me, for obvious reasons. But that coming out process is a queer thing that all of us queer folk have done, and that makes it. And it's a process that's not easy and to do lightly. In other words, you don't wake up one morning and say, "Oh, look, I'm queer," and then go dancing out the door and celebrating. No, it doesn't work that way.
And even if it did, we don't have a society that allows for that.
Everything else. Yeah, but no, but there's a lot of terror. There's a lot of self-loathing. There's a lot of self-hatred. There's a lot of feelings of worthlessness that all have to be dealt with before you can truly cross back into the matrix and be who you want to be.
And really of course,
and so that's to me is a very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah, and of course
it's got to be worked through.
That's the time. Sorry, I thought you'd finish your sentence. I was trying not to overstep you. I promise. So, but that that dysphoria that you're describing, gender dysphoria or even just queer dysphoria, those things are only a problem because we have a society that makes people feel that way. If we existed in a world that didn't say that you have to conform, you have to be part of the system, and you are only accepted as part of the system if you think, act, behave a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm. And all your primate things come out as well. Like you want to be part of a community, you want to be accepted for who you are. And you don't want to upset anybody, and all these things kind of pile up on you. And say, well, it's better not to tell anybody or act on it or anything like that, and pretend to be that it doesn't exist, than it is to make everybody around the society that you live in uncomfortable. And that lasts sometimes for an entire lifetime. Me, it lasted about. I was 42 when I came out. So it was like a long time before I decided that basically, fuck them. I am who I am. And if they don't like it, if you don't like my apples, don't shake my tree.
Yes! Oh, I love that phrase. So I might steal that one.
The kind of... That was from my cousin, who was the only other gay person in my family. He's the one who, because when I came out to him first, and so he started giving me a lot of advice. And now, don't do this too quickly. Make sure you're safe with the people that you're telling. That's what he went through the whole routine, and he says, but ultimately, what I tell people is, if you don't like my apples, don't shake my tree. So in other words, mind your own damn business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't like it, you don't have to be it. So go away. If you don't want to be around me, fine.
I have a little bit more. I have a little bit more of a crass way of putting it. I have a little bit more of a crass way of putting that, and it's like, you don't need to care about where I put my dick unless it's in you.
Exactly. That's pretty much it.
Just saying.
Or, I'm not telling you where to put yours, so don't tell me where I want to put mine,
Unless it's in you. Like, if I start trying to put it in you, then you have a say. That's
Unless
it.
it's in you.
That's it.
I can't use
You
that one.
have consent. No, that's true. You can't use it.
Yeah.
You can
I
say
use
unless
it.
it's. You need another. She needs another one. We got to think of one.
Excuse me. Did you just assume her gender? No, I'm just playing. No, Cindy,
Well, I already said I couldn't use it.
pegging is a thing.
She said she
so-
couldn't use it, and of course, under that revelation, I said, "Well, now we have to come up with another one."
Yeah,
No, we
Apples and
don't.
trees still
Pegging-
makes
pegging
sense
is a thing.
in
it
that
does.
case,
It does.
That is true.
Yeah, I
Yeah, we can still talk about where
mean,
you
it
stick
is
your
a thing.
dick. Your dick just isn't made of flesh.
But if you don't want to go the picking route,
Made of flesh and bone.
and if you don't want to go the pegging route, hey, if you don't like seafood, you don't have to come to my clam bake.
Yes! Oh my god! I need to turn away from the mic before I overblow the fucking
Well done.
audience's speakers. Oh my god!
I love it.
All right, cool. On that note, Cindy, how do you think that things would have been different in the story if Switch had been portrayed as originally intended by the Wachowskis?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I totally agree with everything that John said about that. I think that they missed a huge opportunity. And also like what John said, it's like it's not like it would have to be it's the let's see how we can get away with this thing when you're like trying to talk about that in the movie. It didn't have to be like a trans thing to people who didn't want it to be. They could have thought of it a different way. But I think that would have been so cool. It would have been really fun. It's kind of like, it would have been like a more serious version of how what's that one? Oh, the newer Jumanji when that girl ended up coming down as, was it Jack Black?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. The first year
Yeah.
was Jumanji. The second one, it was the main character, because his grandfather took his character and he ended up as a female thief instead of
Nice.
the big doctor.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
I know
there
those are
were
more,
gender switches twice on there. Yeah,
which is pretty
I thought
cool.
that was cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I thought that added something to those movies, even though that was more comedic. It could have been more of an in-depth, like, really good character. I'm sure Switch was. I'm trying to remember what Switch was.
Switch
As
was
is, but
the
It would have been a really cool.
Switch was the very androgynous
The one in-
looking woman with in all white with platinum bleached hair that was cropped short, almost like a crew
Oh
cut.
yeah. Okay,
And yeah,
that's right. Yes,
And-
and I now that you say that, now I remember you
Right.
telling me about that
so
when we were watching it. We watched the fourth one together.
the actress who plays that character was supposed to only be playing that character on the ship in the real world, and it was supposed to be a male character, a male actor portraying the character in the Matrix itself. The digital self-image was supposed to be of a man instead of a woman.
Yeah.
But they just, instead of doing
Yeah,
it that way,
but
just
there's a-
made the character incredibly androgynous because the studio did not approve two
Yes.
actors for the role. So,
Yeah.
but that was the way the character was written.
Yeah.
Looked like a man in the Matrix, but
I like how it was written.
outside the physical body in the real world was that of a woman's.
If trans men exist, they should have done it the way it was written.
Well, I'm curious, right? I actually think that it's telling the opposite story. I don't think it was telling a story of a trans man.
Really?
Right, no, because she was a woman in the real world. her digital self-image was that of a man.
But do you think it was the insides coming out into the digital world?
So yeah, so was that a situation that I guess we could look at it. It could go both ways. Pun not intended, but it works here. It could go both ways. We could be looking at a man trapped in a woman's body, which is not what I know that the trans community does not actually like that phrasing, right? But just for the sake of the narrative that was being told. They were trying to show it could have been either a man in a woman's body or a woman in a man's body. I'm unsure, because what I think what that really comes down to is how much control the character of Switch has over their digital self-image, right? We do know that some people have better control over what they can do in the Matrix than others. And Neo's ability to control his digital self-image is ridiculously insane compared to everybody else's.